what it does is it gives you meaning, it gives you purpose. You realize, okay, you're looking at something honestly, there's no way I can do this. Then once you actually physically do it and you find out it is in your realm, and it takes everything that you thought you knew and it completely turns it around. Well, as soon as I started doing these sports, I started seeing this foundation that was stacking underneath me again, and that gave me purpose. It made me want to keep pushing. And then with the family and my faith in God and my friends to push me off the side of cliffs, you know, hey, there was no stopping it. When I lost my leg above the knee and I went down that park for the first time and I couldn't hit a box, it killed me. It was the worst feeling I ever felt. So I had to do this. I had no choice. I was named after my father. I'm actually a junior, but he was the same as me. Everybody he met felt like they've known him all their life, and somehow that transcended into me. And now I really like people. My kids and my wife mean the world to me. They're the whole part of the reason why I'm doing this. When I first lost my leg below the knee and I told them I was going to do these sports, they were just like gung-ho, go for it. And the doctors weren't even like that. The doctors told me, no, you just relax, don't try to push yourself too fast. And the rest of my family said, don't listen to them, just push it. And so here I am. It was getting progressively worse. It was getting to the point where I couldn't control it anymore, and that's how I knew. I had to rub my feet constantly. I was always rubbing my feet, and my socks would always have holes in them right here and here for my hands, because I was always rubbing right next to where the wounds were, because it just soothed it. They were pitch black, and I couldn't figure out. I thought I stubbed my toe and it wouldn't go away, and I went to this podiatrist, and he had me sit back and he started getting a scalpel and he's cutting the black off of it, and I'm freaking out going, what are you doing? And he looks at me, he says, you need to sit back and relax. I said, how can you sit back and relax? You're cutting the end of my toes off. He says, you need to go see a doctor. And that's when they told me, yeah, whoa, that's bad. And that's it, and they set up the surgery. If I would have never smoked, I'd still have both my legs just like you. I would say I was 19 years old when I really started seeing the effects of the disease that I have called Buerger's disease, and didn't know what it was, and started going to the doctor, and they didn't know what it was, and they diagnosed me with, you know, several different things before I could find out. And next thing I know, I was losing toes, and that just scared the living heck out of me. It's basically an allergic reaction to cigarette nicotine, and what it does is it just basically cuts off the circulation to your extremities. It usually affects the furthest point away from your heart, and it happened to affect my feet, and they say once it affects your feet, it goes to your hands, and I didn't believe them. I thought, you know, gosh, doctor, every time I come in here you tell me to quit smoking. It's ridiculous. Everybody in my family smokes. It can't be smoking. So that's why I went home, didn't listen to them, because they told me they were going to cut half my foot off the next time I came in. And I was like, wow, yeah, so that was in '92. Over the course of the years, I cut my own toes off. If I would have did something then, I probably would still at least have parts of my feet. But being as I denied it for that amount of time, this is a repercussion. Like I said, I didn't believe them. I hid it from my wife, my kid, my mom, my dad, my brothers. I never let anybody see my feet. I'd wait till the middle of the night and wait till everybody went to sleep, and then I'd change my bandages, or I'd wait till everybody was gone, and then I would jump in a tub. So what I would do is I would get the water all the way to the very tip top. I would put put a piece of towel or something over the little thing, the drain, so it wouldn't let it drain so fast, and then of course plug it. So it'd get all the way to the top. My feet were so bad I was having to dunk my head in the tub of water and cutting pieces of my toes out, so my wife and kid didn't hear my moans and screams. So when my wife came home the next day, I told her I needed to go see the doctor because I really felt as if I was dying. We took off right straight to the hospital, and they seen my feet at triage and immediately took me in. To have them look at both my feet, which had gangrene in it and bones hanging out of it, from 8 years of me trying to heal it myself, I was at a loss. I seriously didn't know what to do. And like I said, I was in complete denial. I thought everybody was crazy. My family members kept telling me for years I need to quit. Better listen, maybe they're right, you better quit smoking. Right, I didn't listen. I thought every time I hit that cigarette, it made my feet pain go away. And I had that literally transcended so deep into my brain that it put me in a state of denial, and it took 8 years to get out of it. And the only thing that got me out of it was a doctor sticking his hand right in my face and telling me he didn't have time to listen to why I was trying to mess myself up. All he had time to do was fix me. And that was it. My world went to a screeching halt. And I thought, okay, if I don't have no feet, how am I ever going to walk again? There's no way I'll never walk again. And that's where all this started. And I walked out, smoked my last cigarette, and that was it. Gave it away. I don't think if that doctor would have stuck his hand in my face like that, I'd still probably be smoking. I was so pissed off. I was ready to fight. I mean, I'm tearing up, and I apologize, but the wounds are gone, but the pain's still there. And if that doctor didn't do it, I would have quit. I'd probably be dead. I remember sitting on a gurney and they said, we can use an artificial vein, which will probably have to be changed. It's better off if we use one of your veins for the bypass. And I opted for my vein, and just about ready to give me the anesthesia, and I chickened out. I told them stop. They pulled me out of the room. The doctor says, look, we can let you go and you can go home and you can die. So again, I said, all right, well, will me in there. And they willed me in there and they did the surgery, and I remember waking up and they said, okay, we can save that right leg, but the left leg's got to go. And that's when they started setting up all the surgeries. If it wasn't for the fact he shoved that hand in my face, I would have never did anything. I probably would have, who knows? I really don't know. I'm glad he did. He's the one that set this in motion, and I saw him about 8 years later, and I was doing all these sports, and I told him. He was so proud. So yeah, he's a great doctor, man. He's great, awesome guy. I owe my life. When you first get your amputation, you're like, oh gosh, I don't even know if I can walk on this thing. It feels all crazy. But after you break down that first barrier, every barrier behind that is 10 times smaller. It did take about 3 months from there before I started getting active. I used to skate when I was very young. I was about 11 years old, 12 years old when I stopped skating. But when I was about 11, I met a guy named Fat Jerry that I used to skate with. And he happened to pull up at work. And he goes, what happened to your leg? And I said, I lost it. And he goes, you skateboarding? I'm like, no, I'm not skateboarding. He says, why not? And I thought to myself, why not? So I went down and I bought a Black Label board. It's sitting right there. That's my very first board, and I bought that board because it had a crutch on it with wheels, and I thought that suited me perfect. I'm like, oh, this is destiny. I want that deck. I took my first run in the Monterey skate park, and it was something I absolutely felt great doing. I loved it. It was fun. I've been watching kids do it for years. Now it was something I was able to do. There isn't anything in this world that we can't accomplish as long as you get past this first. And as long as you have a proper structure and you start getting that little fire in your heart, it grows. And eventually, within a year or so, it's an inferno, and there's no putting it out. There's not enough fire engines in this world to put out my fire. And that's really important to transcend into other individuals that are just coming up, that have just had this happen. And I go on this website called Empowering Amputees, and I see all these different questions by people who's only been an amputee for just a very short time, and they're asking the same questions, well, heck, that I was answering 12 years ago. I don't really know if I feel if I'm giving back, but I know when I get messages from parents and they tell me, I never thought my kid would, it pays me more than anything that the event could do for me, anything. It's the individual one-on-one base with each person that is at the event is what touches my heart. It's huge. It's amazing. It brings a tear to my eye every time.